Welcome to this So You Want to Build a House podcast. I'm Scott. I'm here with my co-host Keith. Say hi.
Hey.
There's Keith. And wow, it's been a minute since we recorded one of these.
Almost 3 years.
3 years.
That's a long time.
A little bit has happened since then. But we're not going to get into all those details because you probably don't care about what has gone on in our lives for the last 3 years. And if you did, you could just call us and not have to listen to our podcast. But so here we are with a fresh episode 24. This podcast, So You Want to Build a House, is sponsored by Aurora Homes. And we're glad to be back into podcasting. We've had over 30,000 downloads of our previous episodes. And so we know that it's a good resource. And so we're back. And so episode 24, we're going to
pretty insane.
Isn't that?
30,000?
30,000 listens.
Wow.
To the So You Want to Build a House podcast, which in the podcast world is a pittance. It is statistically insignificant.
But for us.
Makes
us feel good.
We're viral.
Yeah, we're super viral.
We're super viral.
Celebrities.
People stop us on the street when they hear us talk and go, hey, aren't you on the So You Want to Build a House podcast?
I mean, I've been stopped for that.
Right, and I deny it. I was like, what is that? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I demand my private life. Okay. Anyway, so here we are. So listen, we're talking about design. Design part 2. Isn't that the story here?
Yeah.
Isn't that what we're going for?
Yeah. I mean, things have changed. Things have changed over the years. Houses kind of haven't.
Right. So Keith, we're going to go back to 2020, and so I'm going to put you on the spot. This is unrehearsed. This is
raw.
This is raw.
Here we go.
We changed our name, right, to the company.
Yep.
That sponsors this podcast, changed its name, and we changed a bunch of designs.
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
And so back then, Keith was working for Aurora Homes, and you were working in sales. Do you remember kind of the thought process and what we ended up doing with these older house plans?
I mean, we sold a couple of them in the interim, kind of between. We phased out all the older designs we had from, the earlier 2010s kind of stuff. And when we started to phase those out, we had a couple people that wanted these old designs, but once we kind of explained it, I mean, specifically like with bathrooms, like we've emphasized adding more bathrooms, adding more suites, giving more flexible spaces. The old plans didn't really offer those things. So people, I'd say, generally came on board with the new designs.
Right. So we literally took our best-selling homes and we stopped offering them for sale.
Yep.
And that's what we did. Because we sort of just thought about this. And I can tell you one of the main impetus for me was there was a house that won an award in 2020. I think it was given the award, a Delaware-based trade organization. We're not going to name the names of the builders of the trade organization. Yeah. Gave it an award in 2020 for, like, I don't know, custom home of the year, floor plan of the year. I don't know what the thing was. But what I do know is that the design itself was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And I just thought,
so how does that happen?
How does that happen? So, I did a little digging into what it takes to win one of these awards. And, ultimately, I don't think it's necessarily a knock on the trade organization, right? In a sense, my dad would say you have to dance with the date that brung you, meaning, so they're going to hand out these awards every year.
Yeah.
And the builders sort of have to self-nominate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, but it struck me. And where it struck me is that a company would say, this is the best product that we have that we're going to put forth for an award, and it's a decade old. Yep. And I'm like, well, so I think that just tells you volumes about the home building business and how they're not really focused on innovative design. And so I really got to thinking, hey, this can't really be the reality.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think, well, how many builders submitted plans, right?
Right.
That's what I think. I'm like, okay, you won this best custom house of the year award,
right?
Whatever it is, and it's a 10-year-old plan. So my instant thought is, what other houses were in the competition?
Right.
Because if you can win it with a 10-year-old plan,
right? What are the folks that didn't win? Who went home and like, hey, we didn't get custom home of the year.
Yeah.
We lost to a 10-year-old house.
And we were a 15-year-old.
That's right. Ours was 17 years old, but we thought she had some life left in her.
Yeah, yeah.
We were wrong.
The new hotness, that 10-year-old plan beat us out.
Right. It's kind of mind-boggling, And so then I looked at the awards for 2023. Same builder won an award for a house that was done in 2010. 12 years old. And I'm just thinking to myself, people just don't even think about this.
No, they really don't.
And so that was really one of the impetus for us to redesign houses, scrap all our houses. We're currently redesigning houses now that are only 2 years old. We're updating them at Aurora Homes because we think that the way people live is constantly changing.
Yeah, I mean, after you've built, if you come up with a fresh new design, you build that house a couple times, you're going to learn a lot about it, and you get a lot of feedback from people who are living in those houses now. And I mean, you can't help but to change it because things evolve. The way people live evolve. So it's always it's important to continually take your plans to the drawing board and improve things.
Right. But apparently it's not.
Not if you want to win this award.
That's the logical conclusion, Keith, and I think what you said is really good. But I think in our industry, in the new home business, that no one's saying that.
No.
I think what they're saying is, hey, this works and it's selling, and we sort of have it down. We know what it costs. We know how to build it. And so we're just going to keep going there.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is manufacturing. And so I think sometimes when they look at this and they say, well, let's do it. Let's continue down this road and let's get after it. And look, these are not the large national publicly traded builders, right? Because I guess it's safe to assume that you're not really expecting a lot of innovation on the design side from companies like that.
No.
These are local-based companies, and they are literally just spitting out the same old house. And then I just think about it, how much different is your life? All right, so Keith, we're going to wind the clock back to 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And how much has changed about your life since 2010?
So in 2010, I was in high school.
Yeah, okay. Which you're ostensibly not in now.
No, I'm not in high school anymore. I have 2 children, a wife, a house. I live in a different state than I did at the time.
Right. You have a dog. Don't forget the dog.
I have a dog. I've got. Yeah, I mean, my life is infinitely more complicated in every way possible.
Right. And I just don't know. And I think back to 10 years ago when I had 2 kids in school versus being an empty nester, when I have 2 grandkids, and 10 years this time 10 years ago I had 3 kids in school. All my kids were in school. Now they're all out.
Yeah.
And so the theory is that if you take any time and you walk back a decade, your life is going to be really different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also the way we live is so different. You think, how about, to me, I'm always fascinated to see what my cell phone has become into my life, right? Because I'm old enough that I was an adult before anyone had a cell phone. And in the late 90s, I had a cell phone, and I think I became a relatively early adopter of cell phones because not a lot of people had them. And now you have this incredibly powerful computer.
Yeah. They're just so integrated now. And you're kind of expected to have one because all of the roles you play in life, they all integrate technology.
Right.
So you got to have a computer in your pocket.
Right. And so in 2010, the cutting edge iPhone, Keith's not an iPhone guy, was the iPhone 4.
Yeah. I think I had a 4 back then. I'm not an iPhone guy now, but
right. And so the 4, and you can fact check me on this. I'm not sure it had 4G technology in it.
It had this is the small square looking one, right?
Yeah, I mean, the iPhone only came in one size. 4 was a new shape.
3 was the rounded back.
3 had a rounded back. This was a squared back. It had a button, and the user interface is not dramatically different. But then you think about, like, there were no streaming apps.
No.
I mean, YouTube was around in 2010.
No. Yeah,
Ish.
yeah. It was, but you were gonna watch. If you watched YouTube, it was gonna be on a computer.
On a
Like you
computer.
weren't really gonna do that on your phone.
Right. You didn't have banking apps. You didn't have just the unbelievable amount of things that you can do from your phone. Because the most popular phone in 2010 wasn't an iPhone. It was a BlackBerry.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So, I mean, BlackBerry dominated the market in 2010. They were losing the market share, but the iPhone just had not come along. So just imagine if you're sitting somewhere today and somebody whips out their BlackBerry.
Yeah.
I liked BlackBerry at the time. I never learned T9 texting, and so it had a keyboard and I could text. And BlackBerry had a messenger service that was just theirs. And so if somebody else had a BlackBerry, you could send them messages. And if you wanted to text, email, and make phone calls, a BlackBerry was an incredible tool. But where it lost out is people's behavior changed, and the design became outdated for the way people live their life.
Yep. The utility of it.
The utility of it.
Like,
so
it did email and text and call and very efficiently, but then the market started going towards apps, started going towards more versatility on that side of things.
The phone just did more and more things.
Mm-hmm.
Like in 2010, you carried a digital camera because your phone didn't take those pictures.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Hey, when's the last time you saw, honey, get the camera?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, we have them for videoing, but we don't have them for taking pictures.
Right.
Anymore. Like, why would you have that?
Right. I mean, that was something that was heard all through my childhood. Get the camera. We're going to get the camera.
Yeah.
We're going to take a picture. We're going to take it and we're going to get it developed. And we're not even going to know what that picture looks like until we pay someone to develop it. And we got to roll a film and it comes back and it's like there's 24 pictures on the film and we like 8 of them, because Aunt Myrtle had her eyes closed or, Johnny stuck his tongue out or something. And it was could be months until you use that end of that roll.
It's wild. I mean, just today. So every week I go around to all the different job sites that I'm building and I take pictures of the progress. I take pictures of things, and with in an instant, I post all that stuff to Dropbox and is accessible by the customer so they can see the pictures. I mean, literally within minutes of me taking them. It's just that world is so
from their phones.
It's so different from back then, where you probably had to do more walkthroughs. You probably had to have them come out and look at stuff because you just couldn't provide images like that.
Yeah.
In that time.
Yeah, there was just nothing out there. And so you don't really think about it. And yet these are the best home designs we have. This is the best we can do.
Yeah.
Oh my. So I just wonder if that isn't something that is really neglected in the home building community, is that idea about design. And the other thing, so besides for phones, I looked up, and this is just for fun, is cars.
Yeah. Quite different here.
Quite different.
The sheet I'm looking at
right
now.
So Keith has a sheet of the top selling cars in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we go back to this idea that a house that was designed in 2011 won awards for design in 2023. So that design is 12 years old. It is a 7th grader by age. It annoys its parents. Its parents annoy it. And so the top selling cars of 2011, or vehicles, I guess I need to say, how many of them are cars?
In 2011?
In 2011. Just you can count them real
Let's
quick.
see. So in 2011, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them are cars.
6 of them are cars. And so what we mean by a car is just like a
four-door
sedan. A
sedan.
4-door. It doesn't even have to be 4-door.
I guess a 2-door.
2-door, 4-door, not 4-wheel drive, just a car. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then how many in 2011 are sport utility vehicles, SUVs?
Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2.
No, I think you're looking at the other.
Oh, in 2011?
2011, yeah.
In 2011, we got one SUV.
One SUV. So 6 cars, 1 SUV, and there's 3 trucks, right?
Yep.
Right. And there's probably always 3 trucks. There's the Chevy truck, there's the Dodge truck, which is now a Ram truck, and there's a Ford truck. And you're welcome for that mention. We hope the check's in the mail. All right, so what's changed now? So in 2022, because that's the latest full year data we have,
Right.
how many cars are in that list?
Only one.
One.
One car.
One car. How many SUVs?
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4.
4 SUVs. So we have 4 times the SUVs, 1/6 the cars, and how many trucks?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Right.
trucks.
So
I'm actually kind of surprised by that.
Which one?
The trucks. I mean, it just seems like I thought SUVs just would take over.
Right.
Like the top 3 on this list. You got the Ford F Series, you got the Silverado and the Ram. The top 3 are trucks. That's kind of just
right.
blows my mind a
I
little
think
bit.
you'd find that the top 2 have been trucks for probably the last 50 years.
Wow.
They've been the Ford and the Chevy truck. And the Dodge, or now it's Ram, kind of piddles around that list. But it's interesting. There's a whole other... The GMC truck at number 6 in 2022 is basically a clone of the Chevy truck. They're kind of the same thing.
Is it GM, General Motors, that
Yeah, they do
do
Chevy.
both of them? Yeah.
So that's basically the same thing. But then interesting is a Toyota Tacoma is on there, which wasn't on the list. And so that's a smaller truck.
Yeah. You don't have I don't see the Tundra on here.
No.
Just the Tacoma. Okay.
Right. And so what you see, if you go from 6 cars to 1 car, and you go from 1 SUV to 4 SUVs and 3 trucks to 5 trucks, I mean, I would say there's a trend just towards bigger vehicles, period, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But then I would also say that the buyer's tastes have changed pretty dramatically, right? So we've talked about it in terms of cell phones and just how your lives have changed. Now you talk about it in terms of what you drive, and what we drive is different now. People don't drive cars. And we were talking about this off air. Ford doesn't even make cars anymore. They literally, people don't realize this. They stopped making cars because there wasn't any money in it. And so it's all in trucks and SUVs, and the poor old Toyota Camry is just plodding along. But it's interesting. What place was it? It was number 3 in 2011. It's now down to number 5, and it's below a Toyota SUV, the RAV4. Interesting. So... And that probably corresponds to life, right? Because you're going to buy a car that kind of suits the way that you want to live. And for whatever reason, people like trucks, because now trucks are nice. Trucks have 4 doors. You can drive a family around in a truck.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That wasn't always the case about pickup trucks. So imagine then taking that same principle and going towards a house.
Yeah.
And, a house is 10 times as expensive as a pickup truck. 100 times as expensive as a phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if the way you live your life has changed in these small areas, how has it changed as you live in these big areas?
Yeah, I mean, we see this when you look at, like, in Delaware, we've got a lot of these older houses, right? And when you walk through an older house, one of the things you notice is there's one bathroom for the entire house.
Right.
Right? So that's one change that has been made over the years. To provide more utility to the people who live in the houses.
Absolutely. And so the houses that are 20 or 30 years old in design have 2 bathrooms, right?
Right.
Because when we came up with this concept of, used to be called the master suite, you can't use that. You probably can't even say owner suite.
You can't
say the primary bedroom. We can say whatever we want.
Oh, okay.
It's still the...
I don't know what to say anymore.
I call it the owner suite, but it's probably a little out of date. But I mean, at some point, it just becomes so hard to keep up with the language. It's just a little silly. So the first generation house, like you said, had a bathroom, and those people were coming off indoor plumbing being a thing. They were super excited.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next generation of house that came, sort of in the last 2 or 3 decades of the 20th century, that was the 2-bedroom house, and so that was the owners had a suite, they had their own bedroom, and then everybody else sort of shared one. Which honestly in Delaware is still the dominant design, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath rancher. There are literally tens of thousands of those in Sussex County, Delaware.
Yeah.
And so what we think is that, that design, which was wonderful for the 80s and the 90s, is outdated. And so the problem of building a house is, if you look at most of the builders in Sussex County, Delaware, and you look at these award-winning plans, there's a chance that you can be building a brand new house that is functionally obsolete the day you move into it.
Mm-hmm.
And just imagine that. But nobody really knows. Nobody's paying attention. The builder's not talking about that. They're going, look at these shiny cabinets.
Yeah.
You know, or look at the wonderful life you're going to have in our house.
Right. They're pointing at the aesthetics, the flooring, let's say.
Yeah.
Things that design don't impact.
That's right. And they're looking at things that change with personal tastes over time.
Yep.
Right? Because if you don't like your floors and you say, I want different floors or I want different countertops, you can make one phone call and you get that changed. If you want to add a bathroom to a house that doesn't have enough bathrooms, I mean, yeah.
You can do it.
You can do it.
But it's
not minor surgery.
No, it's not great. It's not great to add later.
On the house. And so that's why we've kind of gotten to a place where we feel like design is sort of going to be the thing. And we're continually getting feedback from customers, from folks that walk our houses. We're continually looking at things that we want to do to integrate and into our plans that will help people live better lives, right? Because if your house works better for your life, doesn't that actually help your life? Isn't that what a house is supposed to do? Like, I don't know. Most people just sort of say, well, I can make this floor plan work. What if you didn't have to make? What if it worked?
Yeah. Having flexible spaces, just like that iPhone comparison you drew earlier, it's just having more utility, providing more utility to the people who live in it.
And the other thing we really start to think about is multi-generational living, which is really increasingly becoming a thing. And how can a house accommodate, 3 generations in it, not even just 2. Maybe you've got aging parents and then you've got a family. And so there's little kids and there's older folks and there's all kinds of issues, and everybody loves these open floor plans because it makes the house feel big. But then did you ever think about the noise and where it goes? And when it's open, there's nothing to stop the noise.
Yep.
And so, if you're looking at a new home floor plan and the door to your bedroom is right off of the kitchen or it's right off of the great room, then whatever's going on in that room, you're in for.
Yep.
Even if you want to be taking a nap or you want to go to bed early and somebody wants to stay up and watch the game, you're listening to the game in your bedroom. You might as well stay up. That's it.
Yep.
And a lot of builders don't want to talk about this stuff, but Aurora Homes really thinks that stuff matters, that where you put the walls and how you think about how you want to live in your house is critical to getting a house that will enhance your life as opposed to one that is obsolete for your life, even the day it's brand new. Yeah, you'll have the shiniest, newest cabinets, and you'll have the black windows that everybody loves, maybe. But you won't have a design that works. So that's why design's a thing.
Yeah.
So because obviously tastes change. And I think if you look at our plans and 10 years from now, we're going to be selling things that are markedly different.
Yeah, hopefully, right? I mean, hopefully we are. And that's, I think, why that's why we care so much about it, because, if we weren't making those changes and changing over the next 10 years, then there'd be something wrong with that.
Right. And then you just think about, so if we go back to this car list, just in closing, think about some of these cars. Does anybody remember the Toyota Matrix?
No, definitely not. I don't even know what that looks like.
I don't know what that looks like either, but in 2011, that was the number 9 top-selling car or vehicle in the country. I do remember a Nissan Altima.
Yeah. Remember the Corolla?
I remember the Corolla.
We used to have one of those.
They've been around forever. But a Ford Fusion they don't even make anymore. That was on the list. There was Honda Accord. That was a big thing, and it's really interesting. And then, you look and say, on the 2022 list, you've got a Honda CR-V, a Tesla, number 9,
an
electric, but it's an SUV. It's not a car.
A Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Jeep Grand Cherokee. That's a big vehicle.
Yeah.
Those have been around.
Yep.
And so that's where we've been. That's what we've been up to for the last almost 3 years since you last heard from our podcast. But we're glad to be back in the saddle. And hopefully you will continue to listen and you can get a good laugh by listening at some of our old podcasts when we call our company a different name and do these other things. So this is the So You Want to Build a House podcast, sponsored by Aurora Homes. I'm Scott Daly.
I'm Keith Strom.
Have a great day.